What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're going to take a look at Child's Play. The original, not the remake. I have not yet seen the remake. The only Chucky movie I've actually seen is the original movie, and the reason why I haven't seen any more of them is because I kind of hate it. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm biased against cursed dolls in general. Same can be said about clowns, scary clowns. I don't get that subgenre either. But since the release of It and the second Annabelle movie, I've come to the realization that if a movie is made well, you can enjoy it no matter what the subject matter is. So I've decided to give Chucky another shot, given the fact that there's a possibility that it could be made better, that I could really enjoy it for what it is. It turns out I rated it exactly the same, however, that doesn't say anything about the rest of the movies in this series, which could be great. The first thing that I want to say about this movie is the fact that I do understand that it is iconic. I do understand that it's a cult classic. I understand that people consider it a horror film, even though I might not, because I don't really consider it that scary. It's done. Everything that's actually good about this movie is because it is so incredibly memorable, for better or worse. The look of Chucky and the way that he uses his expressions is very, very memorable, very, very iconic. I can say that with only seeing the one movie. I also don't really like the look of the new Chucky in the new remake, but hey, that might change once I see it. The sound of Chucky in this movie, I guess, could be seen as iconic. I feel like I need to see more movies in order to feel like that. Right now, I don't really buy Brad Dourif as the character. I just don't buy the voice. But I guess in time, I could eventually see it. I could eventually learn to love it. I do like the focus of the protagonist and the antagonist and things like that, because a lot of people will say, ooh, this is weird because the protagonist is a 6-year-old boy. And I'm sitting here like, no, it's not. A protagonist is trying to do something, and that 6-year-old boy is not trying to do anything. The only character that's trying to do anything, the only character that's driving the plot forward, is Chucky. Chucky has a story and character goal. Personally, I love it when villains are the protagonist, when people keep on saying, oh, that's the antagonist, just because they're the villain. Incorrect! It puts a new spin on things and it makes it feel a little bit more unique than it would have, especially in 1988 when this movie came out. That's incredibly early for something that specific. Now, even though I do consider Chucky to be a protagonist, I consider him to be kind of a weak protagonist because he doesn't really sense value in going after what he's going after. It's a revenge plot. And that's it. It's as cheap as a revenge plot can possibly get. Everything good or great that I consider about this movie comes down to how much you remember it. Now, even though I only have seen this movie once before and not too long ago, I can consider this movie to be kind of unforgettable because there are certain things in this movie that honestly immediately feel classic and unforgettable and iconic. That being said, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I don't really care for. Number one, acting. For a movie that focuses so much on a kid, a child actor, you'd think that they'd have coached him a little bit further on his acting prowess, because he doesn't really have any acting prowess. Everything that comes out of that kid's mouth, everything that he does is laughable. He's an example of a bad child actor, in my opinion. He's just corny, and they didn't really need a corny character given the fact that Chucky is a corny character all on his own. Another thing that I didn't really care too much about this movie comes down to my personal opinion on it, and that's that it feels really, really aged. Some things just don't translate very well for a modern audience going in for the first time ever. You know when things are animatronic, you know when people are just kind of wearing a Chucky suit, you know when these things happen because it's obvious. I also didn't really like the fact that we're just supposed to buy that this serial killer just so happened to know voodoo spells. It's gimmicky and it feels cheap and it's so incredibly random. Why does he know voodoo? Why did he take classes to know voodoo spells? What's that? At the end of the day, I can say I still don't like cursed doll movies that don't make any sense to me, and this is a huge reason why. This is a perfect example as to why. There was nothing about it, technically speaking, that was made very well. Nothing about the cinematography, nothing about the visuals, nothing about the editing, nothing about the music really stood out to me. The look of Chucky is fine, the sound of Chucky is fine, I guess. The things that they make him do is fine. His motivation's a little bit unclear, a little bit gray. But I'm guessing it's probably just the prop department that should get all the credit for this movie because of how they made Chucky look. I don't know, guys. I guess in a way, I understand where all the praise comes from. In other terms, I'm just like, I don't get it. I'm not part of the target audience. I just am not. I am excited to see the new one because of creative liberties, but it's going to be a long road until we get there. When it comes down to the score, I gave this movie 63 out of 100 possible stars, 63%, which is technically still fresh, technically speaking. Guys who have seen this movie, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. For YouTube, you know what to do. Subscribe to me, hit that like button, hit the bell to be notified when I come out with my next review, and until then,